Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Prize Fighters, Circus Freaks, and Gangsters. I'm Greta.
And I'm Jamie.
And we are two teachers here to look at the 19th century, the food, the fashion, the fighting, the fraud, and the frustration. Because here we are at the last episode in season 1 of Zorro, and some things get solved, but they hang us straight off a cliff, and it's a good one.
Oh, wow. Do they ever? You know what you left out is friendships, because this episode's about friendship.
You're right. I absolutely... And female friendship, no less.
Yes. And female friendship, then maybe something more. Who knows? They're giving each other a very long look. There's a long look that would confuse me. It's too much staring into each other's eyes.
But let's not skip all the way ahead to the end. Let's begin at the beginning, shall we?
Let's do it.
And so we have Diego and Bernardo walking into the governor's palace, and they're important about something because they've been summoned.
Yes. And usually when I get summoned by any kind of governmental agency, I look much more pensive, I'd say. It's like getting called into the principal's office. You're holding your hat in your hand, you're apologizing before you've even gotten through the door. But he just strides right on through. It's a different time, I guess.
Well, and he's a different man. I mean, Bernardo's got his back, and Bernardo can do everything. And he is a De La Vega.
Well, that's true. Being aristocracy, I guess, has its privileges.
Yeah. I mean, if you walked around in that collar all the time, you probably would feel better.
Better or worse?
About being called.
I don't know.
Or feel better about being called into the governor's office anyway. But, yeah, this time he should have probably been a little more apprehensive because guess what? Surprise! Here's your half-brother!
Yay! Fake half-brother! Staring at him weird as hell. Just as weird as could be. And Bernardo's clearly afraid of this lady.
Well, she knows him, he knows her, and he's like, yeah, this lady's showing up in our life like nothing but trouble.
Yeah. Might as well be a Dan Aykroyd movie right now because it's nothing but trouble.
Yeah. It's like, this lady showing up. Yeah. That's not gonna be a good thing. And Monasterio's looking back and forth. He's like, you know what? I'm only the governor. I'm not equipped to make legal decisions.
I'm the interim governor. I'm not even the real governor. I'm gonna defer this to somebody else. Let's defer. You know what?
Yeah.
We're gonna investigate, and we'll get back to you. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, outside, we get to have a conflict between Lolita and Diego. And it's just like, the number of people who get to say in this episode either, you killed my father, or you tried to kill my father is just great.
There's a lot of soap operaing going on. Indignation at an all-time high in this town.
And the best part is Lolita's just all worked up. You tried to kill my dad. And Diego's like, okay, so about that was a mistake. It was my mistake. I shouldn't have been trying to kill your father. It's your mother that's the bad one.
Dun, dun, dun.
Lolita, you're crazy. And it's just like, where was your mother the night my father was killed? Well, she was at home except for the 2...
Yeah, except for the 2 hours that she was...
Yes.
Oh, no. Oh, no, could it be?
Right? See? So anyway, to fix this, all you need to do is hold a costume ball.
I mean, I guess costume balls, this was the thing. They were having costume balls probably, twice a month or something. Because, I mean, there wasn't no TV, so you were going out to parties every night practically, right?
Oh, yeah. And if you were rich, you didn't even have, housework to do, so you were extra bored.
Yeah, and extra ready to party.
I mean, just wrote down in my notes. He's like, okay, so everything's very treacherous and terrible right now. So we need to do something to solve this problem. So hold a costume ball. And I just wrote down, I'm like, what the fuck? All right. Okay.
Yeah, well, you know what? When you're like, somebody needs to do something, and my mind immediately springs to, because my note was, Diego goes to the party to pick a fight with the governor, and I was like, yep, that's a 20-year-old's idea. Like, well, we have a problem. I know what we do. Punch it.
Right. But then we get to the part in the episode where if it were an episodic adventure series from like the 60s or 70s, there would have been the spinning newspaper from Batman. Pew, 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 back at the newspaper. Yeah. They're like, wow, look at all these dead bodies sort of between here and Capistrano. Didn't this weird new guy and his mom come from Capistrano? Like,
Yeah, so nobody's putting together that Samael and his mom killed the priest and a bunch of parishioners, and it's the only person who could sign off on this wonky birth certificate, and everybody's just shrugging their shoulders like, huh, well, that's an interesting coincidence. On to the next issue.
yeah, the judge is like, well, you know, these papers look in order to me. It would be really good if we had the priest to like swear on them or stuff. And they're like, yeah, it would be good if the priest could swear on them. But, you know, bandits, what you gonna do?
Yeah. And the judge is basically like, well, I'm too drunk to read this anyway. So case closed. Give him a 30 or shit.
Yeah. And the best part is like Samuel's like, yeah, and I can say under oath that I was actually really baptized as this kid. So, you know, get out of hell free.
As I stare at you like a fucking maniac. I mean, if there was any person who ever looked like a ne'er-do-well, it's this scrawny, just grimacing weirdo.
Shaved-headed, yeah. I mean, because, like, he killed the priest and those two girls before he was baptized. So, you know, washed away the sins. And he's like, I've barely killed anyone since my last baptism. So I'm good, right?
And imagine how hard it would be to keep a close shave like that on your head in the American Southwest back then. Good Lord, that was no simple thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, like the cutthroat razors, like they don't have like a one setting.
Exactly, which means this is a psychopath with just an endless amount of patience who's shaving himself with like some broken piece of glass as a mirror at 1 square millimeter at a time.
Yeah, because he doesn't have it. Like, what, Guadalupe's going to shave him? No, and he's killed everybody else who could have. I don't know. Anyway, it makes it easier to find the lice.
There you go. You forget about the lice that were going on back then. When did we solve the lice problem in America?
I think the lice problem more or less got solved when everybody had a bathroom in their house.
Okay. So that was... When did that happen? When did indoor bathrooms happen in the U.S.?
I think for, most of the population, that's in cities, you know, you're starting to get like actual sanitation and drains, you know, between World War I and World War II. And like post World War II, when there's that huge building boom and you had all of the suburbs being built.
Okay.
And that's sort of when that became much more normal. You still had people on the, you know, quote unquote wrong side of the tracks because, you know, they weren't white and stuff who didn't have running water in their homes. But it was a big, huge push kind of in the first half of the century for your town to get one of those water towers so kids could go up there and put their girlfriend's name on it or the football team or whatever in that first half of the century. And so like once your town got a water tower, like having running water was more and more
of a thing. Those were all over the country?
Oh my God. Like, well, some places didn't.
I thought they were only in Texas. I mean, that's the only place I've ever seen
Oh,
them.
God, no. The municipality that I lived in, like before I moved to downtown Seattle, we had one. I mean, it was mostly kind of hidden in the trees, but no, having a gravity-fed water tower, like, because that way you can have like this slow, continuous pump that's always sort of putting this steady stream of water up into the water tower, and then it feeds down in, so it's all gravity-fed.
That makes sense. And then you have water pressure, naturally.
Yeah. And so, like, you think about New York City, and you've got all of these buildings that would have a water tower on top of the building.
Yep.
So then again, you just have like one slow, steady pump that's just always kind of filling the tower on top. And then it's gravity feed to give the building pressure.
That all makes perfect sense. We'll look at that.
See?
All right.
Civil engineering. Amazing stuff.
And lice were conquered. I guess a lot of that had to do with schools, too, right? Because with public schooling, you were able to investigate the children for lice.
Right, and sort of keep track of them. And you had a bunch of people who really did want these kids' lives to be better. And then also sort of a modern understanding of antibiotics. And when you could actually kill lice by doing something other than dousing these poor children's heads in kerosene, that was a popular lice remedy for a while. And all manner of terrifying stories comes out of dousing your child's head in flammable substances.
That sounds like a decidedly Floridian solution to lice.
It's kind of everywhere. You know, people still kind of do weird stuff like that, and they should stop. Like olive oil, man, if you must.
I got an idea. Let's turn the kid into a tiki torch.
Yeah. Oh, God. But anyway, so...
Nothing cures lice like fire.
That's a cure worse than the disease kind of situation there, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I got ants in the kitchen, so I burned my house down.
Right? Yes. But yes, so poor Diego is confronted with, the idea that he's going to have to hand over a third of his stuff to this extremely creepy bastard child who, like, kind of is a bastard, but not really, because letters. Anyway.
And Bernardo seems to be afraid of this snake lady.
Right. Yeah. Because there's the fact that he was around when Alejandro, like, killed her father. And so he's like, so how mad are you about this? Like, there's a lot of, yeah.
Yeah. But then Diego decides that the only way that he can get out of this, because now he's got the Clan of the Cave Bear says that he's got to kill the governor within a month, right. And the clock's ticking, so he's got to kill this man. So the best way to do it is in front of everybody. So he goes to the party dressed as Zorro, knowing it's going to piss off the captain, and then just starts mocking him like, oh, well, the only reason you're pissed off that I'm dressed like Zorro is because you failed to capture Zorro. And isn't that the only reason you're supposed to get married, even though you're married to the lady I was supposed to marry, but now you're married to her because you were supposed to do a thing you didn't do? Ha-ha.
Yeah, and you're really embarrassed because if I hadn't killed the governor, haha, which I didn't, but, everybody thinks I did, you wouldn't even have this job. So, yeah.
So I challenge you to a duel. Ha-ha.
Yes, and I mean, and the whole thing, it's just moving along like at 100 miles an hour, which is the right thing to do. But I love the fact that they use the formal glove slap. Like they go the whole 9 yards with that one.
Oh, I like the you must apologize. I will not. You must apologize. Yes. I will not. Well, then I must declare a duel. It was very fun. It was so formal.
Exactly. Oh, I mean, I couldn't get over, like, so Zorro just, like, strolls up and the guards at the front of the governor's palace are like, okay, I guess you can go in. I mean, it is a masked ball and you're wearing a mask, so I guess head on in. Yeah.
So I've heard that these masquerade parties, part of the reason why they wore the mask is because they had kind of a Diddy party aspect. Is that correct?
Yeah, there is definitely what goes on while you're wearing a mask stays while you're wearing a mask. Yeah. Because again, all of these like super rich people were married to people they didn't want to be married to because dynastic property handy over reasons. And so this was just a way of just being like, oh no, I actually don't know who that person is. Shifty eyes, shifty eyes, shifty eyes. Because they were wearing a mask. How was I to know?
I have never seen that mole on that shoulder ever in my life.
No.
None of those distinguishing characteristics look familiar to me.
Yeah, no, the whole masquerade, like, ethos was a very kind of Vegas thing, very kind of bored rich people. Yeah. People, doing things with masks on and can pretend they don't know any better. Anyway, so you've got Tadeo.
Sounds thrilling.
Yeah. Who's just...
Sorry I missed it. I'll have to...
We get the, giant slap We get it's a question of honor. So now it's not a fight, is officially a duel. And today I was like, are you sure you can't like apologize and not have this be a duel? And meanwhile, Lucia's like, oh no, but her inside voice is like, yes. And
But
because
this is not a duel to the death. This is a duel to the first blood. And that's how duels typically went.
right,
Unless
right.
they were American, in which case everybody's trying to shoot at each other. But
Well, and
yeah.
a lot of the American duels were just like you shoot up in the air. Like you show up, you shoot in the air, everybody's honor is satisfied, we can go on our way. You just had some people who were mad enough to actually shoot.
It's strange that people would so if I was to be around a person who has now insulted me in public multiple times and I say, you must apologize, and then they do apologize, then you got to just sit there and smile at this dickhead who's just insulted you. And like, I don't even understand how that could possibly happen. But this is how people lived their lives back then. Just sitting across from a person while you're eating a meal, just hating the shit out of them the whole time.
I think there's a lot of like, because this all like code of honor stuff was all among, incredibly rich people. And at the end of the day, they like put up with a lot of shit so they could, once again, everything's okay if I have somebody to look down upon.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah. As we said, Tadeo, who just like is not happy about Lolita marrying Monasterio, he is kind of thinking, maybe this is the answer to all of my problems. I know. So what did you think about this duel? I mean, as sword fights went, this was a pretty fun one to watch.
It was pretty good. They went kind of back and forth between different sword fighting styles. I'm not like a sword fighting expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, I guess they were making a show of it, which is why it took forever for it to like go on, because like the style of sword fighting that Diego does, Destreza, like he basically is just supposed to stand there and then kind of Japanese like samurai style, like one move he's done kind of thing. So it should have been over very quickly, and like he showed off a little Destreza and then went back into it. When he finally did stab the captain, I was like, oh, well, this is clearly bullshit, because they were only fighting to first blood. So like they were just trying to nick each other anyway. Like he wouldn't have stabbed him. It doesn't make any sense. So
yeah, but I mean, Monasterio kind of like put some passion into it, because there were a couple of moves where he went two-handed on the sword to really like whack at Diego's sword, which I was like, okay, that was a little like extra mustard in the whole thing. But yeah, you were absolutely right. There was definitely an element of show here. Like, we're sword fighting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I was like, oh, well, this is clearly bullshit, because like they are play fighting with the swords, whereas in the rest of the show, like it seems like they're actually kind of fighting with the swords, but here they were just like, we're going to tap our swords together like we're in an old-timey swashbuckling movie.
Yeah. And then, like, all of a sudden, he's down, and Lolita rushes over. He's dead! Get the doctor! I mean, it's just like, what? How? Who? Huh? But, I mean, this is where I have to give the episode credit. Like, they just kept moving things along. There was no time to stop and think about what was going on, because Lolita just absolutely just loses her shit. Like, everybody out of my house, you monster, get out. And Lucia's like, yeah, that was a duel. That was a bummer. But, they played by the rules. Monasterio lost. Darn it. But it was fair. What you gonna do?
Yeah. Darn it. But you know what? You know what's a nice thing about this? Silver lining, if you will, is the guy who killed him, you kind of like him, and he seems to be rich. So that all worked out in the end. I guess we'll just help you move your stuff into Diego's house then, huh? I mean, they were ready to. They were already packing her stuff.
And they were like, look, he played by the rules. What more could you ask for? Honestly.
Yeah. Don't you see us wringing our hands? The hands have been wrung. Goodness me. All right, next topic.
Yeah. So, anyway, enough of that. Lucia goes to the church because you need to, oh, we've got to set up the funeral. Right. Yes, check. So she goes in there, and the padre, Lucia's like, so, that month you spent in the hole with Nalin, how did that go?
Yeah. Oh, looks like you're missing your eyes. Yeah, she plucked out his eyes. So now he's a blind priest.
Oh, yeah. She's like, well, pity. Monastery is dead, so let's go get Zorro. I'll pray for your eyes, thoughts and prayers, da-da-da. Can you set up the funeral? Gotta go. I was like, wow. She's like, sometimes I feel like I'm busy and I'm checking off a list, but she makes me look like an amateur.
Yeah. She's cold-blooded. She's the type of woman who's going to break up with you through a text. And that text is going to be, we are now broken up. Do not contact me again.
Yes, you have been blocked. And so, boom, funeral. And Diego showing up, second funeral in a row where he killed the guy. And it's like, yep, wow, this really sucks. And they're sitting there like this funeral's going on. And the padre is like, and so, this will be the land of forgiveness and reconciliation. Every rich person who's done a shitty thing should get off the hook because forgiveness. Stop your whining.
Yeah, and also, please stop blinding priests.
I was like, wow, they are just, this is some, this is really too early to be talking about guns right now. I feel like you're politicizing this very solemn moment.
And then Diego gets invited to join the clan of the Cave Bear. He gets his very own special Slipknot mask, and he is...
Yeah, it looks like Daddy was number 3, because they, whip out, Dad's mask, and they're like, here you go, boom. They're like, yeah, enough of the funeral. Initiation time, let's go.
He doesn't even get to pick his own number. It's not like football. You just say, you get assigned a number. That's bullshit, And also, when all these other people show up, so what? One of those guys is number...
Where did they come from?
543? What? How? How do you even fit all those slashes on your face? Even if you're using Roman numerals, it's going to take up most of his mask.
Exactly. But I do love Diego shows up and he's like, we're going to finish off Zorro with just a couple of ladies here? What the hell, man?
Yeah, we're going to defeat the Empire of Mexico and the United States of America with me and 2 ladies. Yeah, I don't buy it.
And they're like, plausible. Oh, no. We have brought the whole band. And of course, Diego's just like, perfecto. You have fallen into my trap perfectly.
And then out comes Monasterio, back from the dead.
And, okay, that whole thing was so cheesy and ridiculous. And when I watched the thing a second time to, pull my notes together and everything, I was like, oh, my God, it's so obvious. If this had been a 2-parter where they had strung out his resurrection into a second episode, it wouldn't have worked. The fact that this whole thing happened in 10 minutes and didn't give you time to think, that made it fun and hilarious and everything. And I think some American TV needs to take a note from that. Just bomb through the ridiculousness and get to the other side of the reveal, and everybody could go, that was stupid but so much fun.
You read it over and over, though. American audiences need everything explained to them, and holy shit, do they ever. Because you'll read a review where things weren't explained and people are like, I couldn't understand it. They never even heard the word context before. It's horrendous.
I'm because it did take my second watching through and just sort of sitting there and watching. I'm like, oh, Lolita was in on the whole thing. That's why she rushes to him and she's like, he's dead. Call a doctor. Nobody else touch him. I'm like, duh. But the fact that they just bombed through that so fast, I didn't have time to think about it, which I enjoyed.
Oh, she was waiting for her moment to shine. She's been waiting her whole life to throw herself about dramatically and weep and wail, Mm-hmm. So I'm sure she had the perfect shades just picked out for it so she could drape herself across it with her arm across her forehead. Yeah.
So the army comes in with Monasterio at the head. And again.
And Lolita. And Lolita, who the second they showed up, I was like, somehow I feel like Lolita's going to shoot her mom. And then Lolita showed up and shot her mom because I guess she just wouldn't stay home or whatever.
Well, this is a family full of women who doesn't stay home. If there's anything that we've learned, but why I love listening to it with the subtitles is there are some exclamations that they make in Spanish, and I'm like, that just sounds cool. And so when Monasterio rides up with the army and he's like, throw down your weapons, and then he says, no escapatoria. And I was like, that is fabulous.
All right.
And then once again, Carmen, she's got to be dramatic about the whole thing. Lucia, she's cold. She continues to be icy, icy, icy. But, Carmen, kind of the drama queen here.
Yeah, so she flees, and now there's a reward for Carmen de la Madrid.
Yes. Oh, and then we get to see Monasterio pick up 2 swords and fight double-fisted, which was fun for a while. And then we get the whole climax of the fight where Diego and Lucia are like whispering, fighting at each other. It's like, how could you do this? What? And Lucia's like, well, your father, Alejandro, he was the greediest one. He brought in Vanderveen. And it's like, the fun thing where she steps on the army issue sword and just snaps it. I don't know. It was soap opera-y and just, they checked all the boxes. My bingo card, I think, is full.
Oh, your bingo card is certainly full.
Just overflowing.
By this fight, I was just like, whatever. There's people swinging on chandeliers. I think I got up and got a soda at that point. I was like,
But yes, Lolita shows up just in time to shoot her mom. And they went with the slow-mo, shot in the shoulder and the blood flying out dramatically. Just, yep. And what gun did she shoot her mom with? The wedding present Alejandro breech loader gun.
Hey, he knew she would need to protect herself.
There you go. And so, yeah, Diego's like, see, look, everything's fine. I fixed it. And Lena's like, fixed what? Excuse me? No. Really fucking get out. Yeah, you may have solved this problem, but my dad's disgraced. My mom's in jail. You did this weird thing with my out.
See, I thought she was mad at him because of the faked death. I thought that because she was still mad, I fucking bought it and I can't believe you got me, and so goddamn it, I'm mad. That's what I thought she was still mad about.
See, at first I kind of thought that too, but when I went back and watched it the second time, you realize Lolita had to be in on it.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
No, she's mad because her mom's in jail, her dad's disgraced, and now you're trying to be BFFs with my husband and just causing things to go so haywire that she had to shoot her own mom. She's like, I don't fucking want to see you. You have just made my life hell. You put me into this position where I shot my mom.
Well, her mom was being a bitch, so there was that.
True.
Yeah.
But still, she's just
Lolita just likes being mad as hell. Also, did you notice that married Lolita no longer wears a hat?
It's true.
Yep. Right at the very outset, I was like, no hat! No hat!
No hat.
It must be because she's married.
And she's married to the governor.
Called out to my wife, look at that, no hat! She's not wearing a hat!
Governor's wife.
She's not going to shoot anybody, and she's married.
Governor's wife can do what the hell she wants. You tell her to wear a hat. I don't tell her to wear a hat.
Well, she shot her mom without wearing a hat, which I find to be incongruent with her fashion pattern, but we're going to let it go.
But you know who is happy? Lolita's pissed, but the newspapers, this is the best. Do you know how many newspapers we're going to sell because of this? We have stories for weeks.
It would be like if people still read the newspaper right now. A newspaperman would be just crying with joy every time that a politician spoke.
Yeah, they're just yep. No, I mean, the governor's wife shot her mother. The governor was fake dead. We're we love, this is the best. Prominent matriarch in prison. just clickety click, click, click.
Yep. This fucking maniac said he's going to kill all the immigrants, ban all the schools. Hell yeah, we're getting it. Headlines.
Yep.
And that headline wouldn't even have been as crazy. Like, all the crazy soap opera shit that happened in this episode is not nearly as crazy as the headlines from this weekend.
I know. And so that's why, like, this is like fun escapist shit. I'm like, this is so tame and everything makes sense. I mean, like, it's silly, but you can understand why it's happening.
Even the maniacs make sense. Like, all of their actions have, like, there's a cause and an effect. It isn't just like, oh, I just decided to say some words that don't make any sense when I put them together.
Yeah, and I mean, Tadeo is so over his head. And he's like, look, I mean, it's okay. And Lucia, she's like, I may be in prison, but Patui, get away from me. I want nothing from you anymore.
Yeah, she was rough on him. He showed up with clothes and all, and he was like, here, I bought you all this stuff, and this is crazy. Like, what happened? Let's figure out how to work this out. And she's like, you're disgusting. You disgust me. You're trash. I did this all on purpose. Go fuck yourself. And he just, like, drops all their stuff on the ground and walks away like, what just happened?
I don't know.
Why doesn't she love me?
And Monasterio's like, what have I done? What kind of family have I married into?
Oh, boy. I bet Tadeo was regretting fucking that Russian woman the whole walk home. He was just like, oof, every time I did that, I probably shouldn't have. You know?
Probably. Yeah. But meanwhile, Diego's like, well, this is a hell of a mystery. You know what we need to do? We need to go to New York City and see this Vanderveen guy. I'm sure he'll explain everything in a calm way, and we can just solve everything. It'll be great. Let's ride.
Hell yeah, Zorro meets the Three Stooges. Here we go. He's headed to New York City.
I mean, you keep talking about it's one universe, and so we've got Zorro and, like, the setup for Warrior heading to New York to just... I mean, May is going to New York.
She is, and she is initially not excited about it.
No.
What? Me? Why do I have to go? What the fuck is New York? Where even is that? That isn't even a place, is it?
It's like, look, Panama, that's going to be hell. It's just, yeah. And so, yeah, it is kind of 50-50 whether they went through the isthmus or not. I'm guessing because it only took them 2 months, they must have traversed the isthmus.
They had the transatlantic rail, or the trans... Yeah, they had the didn't they have the railroad now? They did.
No, that doesn't happen until after California is an American state. That doesn't happen until like 1869, and we're only in like 1834 or 35.
Oh, right. Oh, boo to me. Boo to me.
Look, I have been trashed on my faulty railroad knowledge. Shame on me if it happens a second time. It's not going to happen.
They were still using rivers for roads.
There you go.
That's where we
But
are.
before they can take off, Diego's got to go to Na-Lin and be like, all right, you did me a solid. You seem to be working out your rage at the correct people now. So here's your Robin. I mean, Serpiente Roja. You are the red snake now. And she's like, yay!
Yeah. So I looked this up because I was like, ooh, there's got to be a whole backstory. There's no red snake backstory. There's nothing. There's no literary reference. It's nothing. It's just they made it up. So she's got a dope mask though. It's red. And now she's got the black slash across her face with the red slash. And she's got a cool-ass shirt, too. Looks like she bought it at Hot Topic. Not even on sale. This doesn't look like a Hot Topic on sale kind of deal. This looks like one of those Johns that's going to be $110 no matter what day or month you happen to go in that place.
Right. That is out in the front of the trend. That is not a... Yeah,
that is a dope shirt. And with all the teeth and everything on it. I like that shirt. She looks fire. That fit is nice.
And so they are headed out of town, and he does the like, bye Papa Alejandro. I don't know what the hell you are up to, but yeah, you made me the man I am today. So I'm headed out of town. Oh Lolita, bye Lolita.
Yeah, and she just ghosts him. She's not having any of it.
Dead to me.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, they head out of town, and so like we're gonna let's clean up Alta California before, we move on. And so Ivanova does the most Russian thing. She is back into like clear Russian form. And she shows up and she's like, oh, Tadeo, your life is a giant fucking nonsense tragedy. And you know what Russians love? We love, adore, wallow within a giant fucking nonsense tragedy.
Yes, it's every single piece of literature we have ever produced, if you hadn't noticed.
So there's this Russian joke, and soldier coming home from war, he's like, oh, hey, I'm coming home to my girl, finds the rose seller, and is like, give me a rose to give to my girl. And the rose seller goes, who's your girl? And tells her, he's like, oh, she like got together with this other dude. And he goes, oh, well then give me a dozen roses. And as an American, you're like, I don't get it. So the Russian who was telling me the joke explained it to me. In Russia, the roses have thorns. So he's going to go whack the crap out of her with the dozen roses. And they're like, that's a hilarious joke, right? I'm like,
all right, I guess something's just lost in translation on that one. But, hey. Yeah, boy.
But anyway, Ivanova getting all hot and bothered over Tadeo's life just absolutely crumbling and tumbling down the drain makes sense in that context.
This man's doomed because he was just led around by the nose by his wife, and now this Russian serpent woman has moved in. And while I was watching this hapless man just get buffeted between these two dragon women, I was putting myself in his position, and I was thinking back to when I lived in Arizona and being confronted with that, like the Latin rage that it's a cultural thing that you're like coming from a waspy area like I did. I was unprepared for, so it was like a terrifying, like it's different. It's like it's all encompassing. It gets all around you, this rage. And so going from that to the ice cold, like Russian thing, I was like, my God, this man is doomed. And then he ends up with his throat cut before I even finished saying to my wife, oh, he's about to get killed. He was dead faster than I could say it.
Don't worry. Nobody saw me come in. I'm like, yeah, he dead.
Yeah.
He is dead.
Yeah. Because if he was prepared for the one white hot rage side of it, he didn't even know the other side existed. He didn't know that ice cold dead inside thing could happen, and he just got sucked into the vortex.
And so once again, I mean, this episode just packs in a few more things like, whoops, Tadeo's dead. Whoops, Lucia escaped. Whoops, Lucia's wedding ring fell off.
Yeah, seriously. But it was like she just kicked him into a wood chipper, basically. Like, I didn't see those two women, the Russian and Lucinda, teaming up. And then when they did, I was just like, oh my God, she literally, at her jail cell, just kicked Tadeo into a wood chipper because he was dead long before he got stabbed. It was so funny.
And so, Ivanova shows her true colors. She's basically like, there is no such thing as too gaudy. Anyway, tell me more about this clan of the cave bear. Ting! Let's drink to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they're staring longingly into each other's eyes, like thinking about all the different ways they could kill all the people around them, or who knows what they're thinking. It was almost looked like a passionate glance or something. I was like, are they going to date? What are they thinking about? Like, maybe getting an Elizabeth Bathory bathtub.
Bathe in the blood of their enemies.
Blood, but it's maybe like, it's like a jacuzzi maybe, so the two of them could do it together.
I mean, considering sort of when these women lived, and because they're like wealthy women who have like been swimming around in sort of the power milieu, they have plenty of men who they just want to drain the blood out of and bathe in. Like, they have so much revenge on the brain.
Yeah, I guess 19th century women really, really did. This was the time when, I mean, we're just now, like, they're just starting to talk about perimenopause and menopause in the news. And, like, back then they were like, no, just lock that bitch in the attic. Just lock her right up. So, like,
Bible says they're supposed to suffer.
Yeah,
Shut up.
She's 35, so she's useless anyway. Just lock her up. So I can see these women are out. They're ready to cut some throats.
Yeah. So anyway, enough of that. Let's go to New York. And we learn that Diego can speak and write English. I love the fact that the note that he sent to Van der Veen, it's in English.
Yeah, and in very, like, it was, well, not believably, but, like, the script didn't look like they had some calligraphist write it. It looked like a person from that era actually writing a note. It was really well done.
Yeah. He apparently, didn't finish spy school, but, he learned English. He can write a formal note. He had the nice paper. He's super spying it up. He's all set. Let's do it.
And that makes sense. I mean, that's like an American soldier learning Farsi or Arabic now, because the Spanish were at war with the British all the time. So he would have definitely known English if he was going to be a spy for the Spanish crown.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and he looks British as hell. So knowing English for him, if he could have passed with an English accent of any kind, he would have been the hell of a spy.
In fact, I mean, the British and the Spanish were allies at the beginning of the 19th century when they were trying to boot Napoleon out of Spain. I mean, War of 1812 and all of that going on. I mean, like, Napoleon is in Spain and the British and the Spanish are, like, teaming up to get him out of there. So, yeah, they're like, yeah, we gotta learn English because either they're going to be our enemies or our friends, depending on which maniac is running around the continent. So,
the continental system drove the British and the Spanish into an alliance?
Yeah.
I had never even considered that. That's so weird. So these two have been brawling the whole time, and then they're like, oh, well, Napoleon sucks so bad, we're going to put down centuries of enmity to make this happen.
Yep, we hate each other, but you know who we hate more? We both hate the French so much.
Man, and after seeing like 20 minutes of that movie, I can understand why. But
yeah, so we get the implication that whatever Van der Veen is up to, it is worth a fuck ton of money. Because he's like, you know what? My whole scheme is about to be blown up by some Spaniard kid from across the country. So let's burn down an entire hotel full of people to get rid of them.
Yeah, he finds out that Diego's going to be at this hotel and he wants to meet with Van der Veen. And so his response is, burn the hotel. And the guy's like, but it's a really big hotel. And he's like, yeah, burn the fucking hotel. Did I stutter?
Just burn it down. Yep. And like just cold. And then once again, to show like this is really serious, he lights his cigar with a piece of paper with like information on it. Yeah. That's a move they love.
But then all of a sudden, Danny Elfman music, literal Danny Elfman music starts.
Yes.
He's and it pans back, and it totally turns into fucking Batman because Zorro's on top of the thing, and he's even got his cape is splayed out like super dramatically, so that when he stands up,
flapping
it all
in the wind,
like Batman.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, he is Batmaning the hell out of Proto Manhattan. In fact, you know what's hilarious? Is, how Amazon Prime always like recommends this is what you should watch next instead of getting up off the couch. And it was the Batman Caped Crusader cartoon.
That is not what it put on for me. It put on some Lord of the Rings TV show because I looked up and I was like, what in the hell is this? And I was like, well, everybody's dressed like a Jedi, but that girl has white hair, so I'm betting she has pointy ears. Must be a Lord of the Rings. And it was Lord of the Rings.
Okay. I laughed out loud when it's like, and now you should watch Batman. I'm like, I practically was.
Yeah. Not even the Scarlet Pumpernickel or anything. It's straight to Batman.
So, yeah. I mean, they're saying season 2 is going to come out sometime at the beginning of the year. Boy, I hope so, because this is some hot nonsense. The fights, it's definitely descending into straight up soap opera territory. I mean, if we've got Ivanova and Lucia running the new crime syndicate, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Carmen de la Madrid walking around with the Z on her face.
Yeah, no veil, nothing. She's just like, yep, Zorro got me. Whatever.
Yep. Gotta get the Zorro. And then Guadalupe Montero and her creepy fake son, like all the answers lie in New York, and we're just gonna have to wait to see if we get to find out any of them.
Yeah. Maybe he'll go see a quick bar fight between Bill the Butcher and some
There you go.
hapless gentleman. Take in some of the lovely sights in New York and scents.
And so he's going to be like, no, I got to get back to Alta California. We might not have any better sewer system, but at least our towns are small enough to like have a breeze blowing through them.
Yeah, like, could you believe? You can't believe the smell of that place. He'd be like keeping a garment just to be like, here, smell. This is what New York smells like, and people just fall down dead.
Oh my God! So I'm so glad you found this series. It was hot nonsense, but the kind of escapist stuff that we need right now is all I can say.
Oh, wait, let's talk one last thing. May's outfit at the very end when they pull up in the carriage.
What was with that hat?
Yo, she straight up looked like...
That padded jacket made sense, but I did not understand what was going on with that hat.
It was like a Chinese version of an American hat or something. I don't know. I don't know what that was. I couldn't even describe it, really. It kind of looked Japanese. Like a...
Yeah, I was
like a
say,
daimyo's helmet kind of thing.
It had that silhouette, and so I was just like, I don't know. I don't know what was going on with that. Yeah.
The costuming is very fun in that. They've really, it's such a fun counterpoint to Warrior. Even to seeing like the New York or whatever, like it's so bright and kind of shiny. It has kind of that Mad Max Fury Road feel.
Yeah.
Where it's dirty and shiny at the same time.
There you go.
Pretty and ugly at the same time.
I mean, I definitely appreciate that they really distinguish between like what 1830s Spanish American outfits would look like and then what 1830s New York outfits look like. And they are very distinct. And I think that's a fun flex that the costume department took. I mean, I'm not even going to bother like even looking up like how close they got, because it doesn't matter. The fact that they did it and it's so distinctly different is fantastic.
Yeah, their outfits are that's why when they rolled up in the carriage, I was like, I can't believe you didn't say anything, because they looked, because he's wearing like a top hat or something, wasn't he? I mean, he really looked like Martin Van Buren or some shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, they're that style of hat, like, hi, I'm a gentleman, like that's very important. That's how you know he's...
You can tell how important I am by how tall my hat is.
Bingo. Yeah. As George Costanza would say, it's a bald man's paradise. Hats as far as the eye can see.
Alrighty. So up next, we are going to do what? The Warrior's Way?
Yes. That's what you said. I think that'll be a good getting back into the fighting part of this that we have definitely kind of been sleeping on for most of this Zorro series. It's mostly been a little bit of theatrical tussling.
Yeah, well, and also, I mean, we've really only had the circus in The Greatest Showman,
right?
And now we're going to get the circus and the carnival and stuff like that. It's going to be fun.
True.
Yes, this one's going to be... I'm so excited for you to watch the insane mess that is this movie.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds great. So... between now and the next time we show up in the feed with The Warrior's Way, where can people find you on the internet?
I am at Plague of Strength on Instagram, where I'm posting now twice a day, every day, about all things muscular and awesome. And I'm posting people from every part of the world, everywhere you could think of. I actually ran the numbers. And of the last 45 people that I've done profiles on, only 26 of them were from the United States.
Linking the world through bodybuilding. You can do a lot worse. And it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. I mean, I could teach anything to anybody using exercise, because the culture of exercise is way more interesting and it flows around much more easily. So you're not like trying to follow, oh, well, that guy's white or that guy speaks that language or whatever. It's like, well, you're just going with... well, people who kind of wore these clothes did this kind of thing, and these people who wore these clothes did this kind of thing. And when you look at history that way, it makes way more sense.
And yeah, the divisions aren't so artificial. They're a lot more intuitive.
Yeah, because people tend to group with people that they like. Well, it's more of a cultural thing than it is. Rivers don't define where a culture ends. The culture does.
Yeah.
How about you? Where do we find you in the world?
Well, you can find me on my other podcast, The History of American Food, and I am doing something absolutely new and different. Sort of the first look at some of the truly American foods that start to get incorporated into the, USA American diet. Some of the fruits of America that start to be used by all these people who've been living there and importing all their crap. They're like, wait a second, did you know?
So are you talking about like peanuts then?
I'm specifically looking at fruits, and so things like persimmons and grapes and pawpaws and chokecherries.
I didn't even know a persimmon was a fruit,
Yeah.
and I have never heard of a pawpaw.
There you go. No, these are fruits that are native to the continental U.S., and by the 19th century, people had sort of gotten out there and they're like, this is tasty.
So what's a pawpaw?
It's related to stuff like cherimoya and a custard apple. It has sort of this it's got a really soft interior flesh with big seeds. The American version, the pawpaws, are orange on the inside. They have this very tropical flavor. People describe it as kind of a cross between, say, a mango and a banana. And they ripen on the bush. And they're only edible when they're very ripe, so very soft, so you can't transport them. They'll never be a big commercial success, and they grow
Gotcha.
like in Ohio, Indiana, just kind of like in this funky prairie middle, and they are this funny little leftover from a couple of ice ages ago where you had like giant sloths and mammoths. These are made to be eaten by all of that megafauna.
Okay.
And like these big old seeds pass through like a mammoth's digestive tract. But mammoth is gone, but we still have the pawpaw.
Huh. That's interesting. That doesn't sound like a flavor I would ever want to be near or smell. But I'm gonna go Google it because I am dying to know what the hell this fruit looks like.
I think there are some pawpaws. You can get pawpaws in parts of like Western Pennsylvania even.
Wild. I don't think I've ever heard of that before. So, uniquely American foods. When you're talking about a uniquely American food, if we're going beyond fruits,
Sure, yeah.
would you consider tacos to be among that?
Absolutely, because they're developed out of like corn, which is an American produce, and just sort of so they come from this corn flatbread culture. Now, am I going to argue against somebody taking, say, like a wheat Egyptian flatbread and putting some spiced meat in it and calling it an Egyptian taco? I'm not going to yell at you about that, but sort of that name is, an American word applied to an American food innovation. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I completely agree. I just was curious. I wanted to find out if I was in line with the thinking of the prominent food historians of the world. All right.
Okay.
Well, awesome. Cool.
So,
Well, then, until next week or whenever we come back, we are taking a couple of weeks off so that we can
recombobulate, recover
Yes.
from the Zorro-verse.
Yes. Boy, and we busted out a lot. We went straight through for over a year with no breaks.
Yeah.
So,
Well done, us. All right. So we will be
Yes,
back
we're
with
beasts.
the Warriors
All
Way
right.
at some point in the future. And in the meantime, tune in for a few food tidbits that I'll probably be dropping in here. So there you go.
yes, you can check out Greta's amazing food podcast and understand why I wanted her to do this with me in the first place.
All right. Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
You can always reach out to us by email at pcgpodcasters@gmail.com. And you can find more dope beats like this one from royalraven.com.